So now, let's take on the role of a supervisor going through a board and making notes of changes that need to be made. Here in pitch mode, we actually have a great tool for that. Down here we have tools specifically for drawing in notes and revisions. We have a brush tool. This will use whatever the last brush that you had selected was, but you can set the size with this slider and the color with one of these swatches. Double-click a swatch if you want to change the color. Then you have an eraser. This trash can clears all the notes you've drawn on this panel. And don't worry about these messing up the drawings. If we exit and go back to our stage view, you can see that all the notes drawn in pitch mode get put on a layer called comments. Now, in addition to those notes, we can also record a voice annotation on the panel. However, in pitch mode, that's hidden by default. So if we go to our preferences and go to the pitch mode tab, we can check sound controls, and then those will be displayed in pitch mode. So to record a voice annotation, just click this record button, and then that opens this dialog. And when you're ready to speak, hit record again. This is a voice message. I am leaving for you. When I'm done, I will click the stop button. Then you can hit the play button to play it back. This is a voice message. I am leaving for you. When I'm done, I will click the stop button. And if it's good, hit OK. Now down here on the sound controls, it says 1 of 1. If we record another message, this is a second voice annotation. It now says 2 of 2. And we can use these arrow buttons to scroll between the recordings left on this panel and play them back. This is a second voice annotation. If we want to delete one of the recordings, we just click this button. Now I'm going to go through the board and leave some notes for changes that I think should be made. So now that we've left our feedback, let's switch back to the role of a board artist responsible for making those changes. We can see the comments layer on panels with comments, and in the panel tab we have those same sound controls so we can play back any voice annotations. We also may have received feedback on paper or by email or some other method. But before we do anything, we're going to go up to Storyboard, Track Changes, and enable Auto Tracking Mode. What this means is that whenever we make a change to a panel, you see it gets highlighted in yellow, and in the Panel tab, we get this extra field for revision notes. The idea behind this is that as we go through and make changes to the board, each change we make would get highlighted and we would leave a note saying what we did. Then a supervisor would go through and easily be able to see what got changed, and then either approve those changes or make further notes. Now let's say you forgot to turn on Auto Track Changes and have already edited some panels. In that case, we would want to go up to Storyboard, Track Changes, and Track Changes by Date. This window lets you use the previous and next buttons here to move through all the panels that have had edits made to them, whether auto tracking was on or not. If the project has many changes made over a long period of time, these fields let you set a date range and only lets you flip through panels that were edited within that date range. By default, it's just going to be set from the date the file was created to the current date, and therefore it will include every panel. But if you edit the date range, so say it only includes today, then it will only let you switch between panels that have been edited today. The number of panels that were edited within that range will be shown here, and you can see their labels as you swap through them. Clicking this button will mark the panel as changed, and this drop-down gives you the option to either mark the current shot as changed, mark the current scene as changed, or just mark all the panels within this range as changed. If you mark something as changed, it gets that yellow highlight and the revisions note field. Now let's go back to being the supervisor, and we're reviewing the file. You can come up to Storyboard, Track Changes, Validate Changes. Then this window lets us flip through any panels that are marked in yellow, and we can see any revision notes that have been left. If we're happy, we can click Validate to validate the panel. Validate just means that the panel is no longer highlighted and the revision notes get removed from the Panels field. Or we can use the drop-down to validate the whole shot, the whole scene, or just all the changed panels. Great! So now that we know how the process works, I'm going to make some revisions to our demo board, and then in the next video, we'll look at exporting a PDF. I'll see you there!